our role is to ensure and safekeep people's assets.
We 5x'd our entire compliance department last year. We have well over 400 or 500 people that are ex-law enforcement, ex-regulators, ex-police force, all ensuring that we keep an entirely robust system. That's led to where Binance is today. We wouldn't be the most regulated exchange in the world right now if we didn't have that infrastructure in place, right?
That can only bode well for the industry, because I guess you are one of the biggest market makers now in the sense of market making.
If we look at risk, it's living it every day, right? It's being part of it. It's not just listing a load of risks out and then just, oh, that's nice. It's having to go through that and be, focused on what are we doing to mitigate that risk.
I want to welcome you to the second season of Couchonomics with Arjun. Join us this season as we go beyond fintech and payments and embark on the journey into the future of financial services, a future which will be shaped by existing and new developments in technology and innovation, including and not limited to the likes of embedded finance, open banking, ESG, various versions of metaverse, decentralized finance, digital currencies, and other trends. On the couch, we're going to have the most influential and progressive-minded founders, executives, investors, regulators, innovators, and industry commentators from across the MENA region and beyond. Join us as we unravel a multitude of layers of the financial services industry and try to learn how technology will continue to impact the world that we live in. Couchonomics with Arjun is proud to collaborate with some of the most respected and innovative names in the world of payments, fintech, and technology. Ardian is a reliable end-to-end payment solution that provides innovation and flexibility to help businesses achieve their ambition faster by turning payments into a strategic growth driver. Get everything you need with 2U, a Saudi-based super app for delivery, mobility, on-demand services, and a lot more. 2U connects you to everything you need to enrich your daily lives by building an ecosystem across its end consumers, merchants, and reps. Visa is a world leader in digital payments, with a mission to connect the world through the most innovative, convenient, reliable, and secure payments network to enable individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive. Judea is a leading fintech and payment solution provider founded in Saudi Arabia, expanding rapidly across the region with established operations in UAE and Egypt. Judea's vision is to empower merchants with the tools to start, manage, and grow their business. M2P pioneers next-gen fintech through innovative offerings across payments, lending, and banking landscapes. Their comprehensive tech stack powers end-to-end banking services, BNPL, customized credit cards, prepaid cards, and more. Hi, everybody. Today is a special episode, so I guess welcome. I'm your host, Arjun. And we're going to try and talk most things crypto today. I wanted to actually let you know up front that there is a possibility that this is going to be a two-part episode because we have a whole lot of questions to cover, right? Joining me today, I have two senior executives from Binance's team in the region. I've got Dominic Longman and I've got Nadeem Ladki. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you're comfortable on the couch. I know
Getting there.
You're getting there, right? It's not often do we have two fully grown men on that couch. Usually it's one. But I hope you're comfortable for the duration of the show. We have a lot to cover, right? And personally, I think I'm looking forward to this session because it's going to be educational for myself. So I've tried to sort of categorize it into sort of 3 or 4 broad categories. I'd like to start with sort of unpacking the Binance story, right? And understand Binance a bit better, and actually help the audience understand Binance a little better, right? We then want to move on to some of the challenges which I guess the wider crypto sector has faced in 2022, and how you as an organization have and are responding to it. And then sort of eventually I want to move to a conversation which looks about where we are all headed next in the industry and as Binance. Now, what I'd like to do is, although we'll try and keep the conversation at an industry level, and that might sort of traverse the world, we do want to keep the MENA context relevant. So my request to both of you is, wherever there is a question where there is more, I guess, meat on the bone that you can provide from a MENA context, please do take that responsibility, right? So unless you guys have anything else to say, let's dive straight in.
Jump into it.
So Nadeem, let me start with you. Let's roll back in time. You're not that old, but let's roll back in time. Okay. And I'm talking Binance time. Obviously, Binance has established itself as the biggest player in the market globally, right? But talk to me a little bit about the genesis of Binance and, where does it come from? And, how have you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, look, rolling back, 2017 is where it all started, right? Our founder, CZ, really, he'll even describe himself as this right time, right place. He was driven predominantly by the user and the community and looking for delivering something that the users needed. At that time, obviously the industry was extremely nascent, right? So good functionality, good usability of just a simple exchange platform wasn't around. So he went on and decided to build it out. Quite quickly, within his first year of starting that company, he had already grown into the biggest exchange by volume, which is amassing such a great number of users. And users have always been the core, right, of what Binance does, which is, going to your question, like what has got us to where we are today? It's been this obsessive focus on making sure we do right by our users, making sure we build for our users. So, fast forward over those 7 years, he really continued to grow the business and the team out to keep delivering on that. So that could be from improving and enhancing the exchange services itself, from offering various products, but also beginning to do more than just the exchange, right? Like a lot of people will know that Binance is an ecosystem, not just an exchange, right? So that's adding on ancillary products like custody offering, right? Or payment solutions or NFTs, as the NFT world decided to come in. BNB chain is obviously also very closely tied, right, to our ecosystem, and helping businesses look at and understand how to build on BNB chain, which is own layer 1 blockchain. So that's kind of where we've gone today. Kind of just to give you like high level numbers, right, which is always pretty exciting to hear. As of now, we have over 150 million users globally that use our platform. Very humbled by that. More importantly, here in the MENA region, to kind of go back to your ask, we continue to grow quite nicely. We've seen just last year over a 49% increase in our user base here in MENA. It remains a solid part of our business, and hence the investment in people like us to come in and help really build out that framework.
So I think you mentioned the word ecosystem. You've obviously mentioned that Binance is a lot more than the exchange, right? Do you have can you give me a feel in terms of the various products that there are and proportionately where do they sit in the pecking order of importance?
I wouldn't say anything is less or more important. It's again, like, and sorry to sound very cliche, but it is really just driven by our users. Now, naturally, as a business, the exchange was the core of what we do and remains the core of where, our business operations are focused and run, right? Making sure the robustness, stability, and product offering of the exchange. Now, if you kind of want to go expansive on the ecosystem, we really think about all the different tools that are available. What that could be trading, so various different product types to trade, token listings, right, for new projects that are trying to come on. We obviously have a fairly enhanced due diligence process to review, look at, and understand which projects to list, and then give access to users to be able to trade those. Custody, for those that are looking for a more robust off-chain custody solution, we do provide services like that. Then kind of moving into other product sets, we do things like, NFT listing. We have our own marketplace where people can come and mint and list their NFT projects. That's driven a big demand in obviously gaming related tokens, which is one thing. Fan tokens, which I'm sure we'll get on, but another big thing that has been quite exciting. Payments, cards. We actually offer a Binance card now, and have been for some time. In Argentina, Europe, Middle East as well. That enables people to link, your debit card to your account, right, and just spend it in the 90 million plus merchants around the world that accept Visa and MasterCard, right? So pretty exciting there. But we also do a whole other side of the business. We have an educational platform that's completely free to use, Binance Academy. People can come learn about the industry. We try to incentivize engagement with the user by offering earning capabilities of crypto to actually just come and take free courses, right? So we really try to promote that aspect. I don't know, anything additional as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think as well, let's say BNB chain, I thought it was a good example. Why did that come about? Well, that was because there was a focus on the fact that Ethereum at the time was getting rather expensive. Either price was going up, and also wasn't particularly as fast as it could be, right? So again, took the user focused approach, looked at a clear issue for the industry, and that's where the chain's come about right now, and is now very much up and running as a standalone, completely sort of separate entity. But it's a key part of the industry right now for DeFi.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to a couple of points. I think you talked about how you go about listing projects and coins, and you mentioned about payments. We'll come back to that in a bit. Dominic, just bringing you into it, I'm going to go back to the whole exchange world, right? So where do majority of your trades globally come from? And has that evolved since the beginning in 2017, right? And what does that evolution look like?
Oh, I mean, it's certainly. I mean, if you go back at that time, I mean, the industry was incredibly small, right? And so mainly retail focused, but there was still, institutional starting at that point. Champ Capital, Semi Digital. There was numerous players in that market, but now we're seeing far more institutions, and also existing sort of more traditional institutional entities coming into the marketplace, and that's driving a different sort of character of some of the trades that are occurring as well, which is leading to some, I'd say, slightly more price stability in certain scenarios. So over that time period, we've seen obviously the number of users. You've already mentioned the number of users, but also the trading type activity. So, it started off very much as retail individuals that probably most likely were very technical crypto heads who, really just needed a place to trade into different currencies to
and
be able to
largely
utilize
Asian?
it. No, I mean, back, I've only joined Binance 6-7 months ago now, right? But have been in the industry quite a while. There was, significant US focus. Even back then, we had stuff going off in the Middle East, right? So there was obviously Asia, and I think Ripple had quite a lot of focus in the Asia side back in those times as well, right? But yeah, it was very much, individuals, very technical type individuals. Now we're seeing more business focused and obviously more institutional types as well.
And a few fools like me.
I don't think there's any fools at this point. We're still very, very early at the stage. It's about coming in and giving it a try, right?
Okay, so in continuation to it, right? So post the I guess the debacle with the FTX, right? And looking at your share from an exchange perspective, I don't have an accurate number, but I hear it's somewhere in the region of 70%, right? Which is both good and bad, right? It's impressive, right? In my humble opinion, it does create a certain concentration risk for the entire sector if something, unfortunate was to happen, right? Not suggesting it would. Do you actually see that as a problem or as a challenge for the industry, that there is so much concentration of, market share with one player?
I think it's been said before, we are all about adoption, uptake. It is still very early days. There is still, a huge opportunity here. And, we'd love, I think other competitors, there is still a significant number of competitors out there in the marketplace. What we do is a very good job of providing a great service to our clients at great prices, right? And that's why we've got the depth in the book. We've got, the amount of liquidity we have on the platform, which again, obviously, is part of the size we are. That's why we have that, and that's why we're in the position we are right now. We all, I think, in this market want to see more use case, more token types that therefore traded more, that drive up the total market cap. So we become an asset of what's FX right now, 14 trillion, 15 trillion. We're still 800 billion today.
Yeah.
So right now it'd be a case of we are where we are. We'd love, other services, and I think that you'll find probably venues that are more specialized in certain types of product in the future, rather than being sort of a one-stop shop for everything. It's probably a good problem to have.
You don't feel lonely at the top? You don't feel like as if, everybody is sort of, I don't want to use this term, but I'll say it, that everybody is sort of gunning for you?
No, I think we use it the other way. We drive it to ensure that we don't become complacent. We ensure that, we're looking constantly at what could come, because that liquidity could move, quickly if, we didn't continue to be on top of our game, looking at what we can do better and constantly improving the platform and bringing new products to the market.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper, right? In the sense you talked about product and stuff. So very straight, it's I guess a fairly simple but boring question. Yet, what do you guys do differently to ensure that there's security of user funds and personal information, right? Because in a way, you are a market maker in more than one way, right? You guys are also sort of setting, if I may use the word standard, not in the sense of standards, but you are sort of setting the standards, right? For anyone coming new into the market or anyone who's small and wanting to grow. What do you guys do differently, or what do you guys do better?
Let me start with that, because I'm from Binance Abu Dhabi, we're a custodian. So, our role is to ensure and safekeep people's assets. Obviously, part of that process is KYB and KYC. So we capture users' data in that process. And obviously we have looking after their private keys at the end of the day, which is what custody is at its core is about. And then the services that go around that. It is, absolutely number one focus. I don't necessarily feel that's different to anyone else. I think at this point, we just look at what absolutely every single day do we need to do to protect that, because, we have seen in the market, not just this year, but many years before, a failure in that scenario. Obviously, it has impact to the individual concerned or the individuals impacted, but to the company reputation, and that can bring a company down in any time. So from, the bottom level, we take it incredibly importantly around either segregation of duties within the company, our processes, how we develop stuff, how we build items, we question at every step, what is a possible attack vector. We look at obviously regulation as well, but regulation is a great baseline. We always looked at what can we do better, as well as, industry standards. So, we have different parts of the business that have had SOC 2. There's all ISO standards. So we had ISO 27001. All of these ones we look to try and adhere to and actually do better.
So Dom, just building on the answer you just gave me, what are the building blocks, or if I might allude to as the pillars of your sort of compliance and risk strategy as Binance? Not just from a custody perspective, but the entire organization, both regionally or globally.
That's a broad question. I suppose if I go back to first when I joined, right? So back, and I've been in regulated financial entities for most of my career. What most impressed me when I came here and joined was actually the incredible focus on risk and compliance, right? And protecting assets and transactions. So really that's down to people, right? You have all different types of individuals. Firstly, the number focused in this area, the ratio is far higher than I've seen in any traditional finance entity of people focused specifically in these areas. Then you've got the quality and caliber of people. I think it's been listed many times. We've hired from many different, police, security forces, government forces, globally that are really so focused on that. Obviously, then we have the tooling. We try to use as many different tools as possible, best of breeds out there from all different, companies. I can't really want to advertise more than, but there's like the TRMs, the elliptic tips on the transactional monitoring side, the world checks. There's many other products out there that we're utilizing to try and, make sure that we have all those areas covered. And then, it's the focus on, certainly within the region, I'll talk because I have more detail on that, right? We have specific individuals who are either compliance officers, risk officers. And again, if we look at risk, it's living it every day, right? It's being part of it. It's not just listing a load of risks out and then just, oh, that's nice. It's having to go through that and be, focused on what are we doing to mitigate that risk? What's the chance of that occurring? How do we change that? Okay, well, we put that in place. Now, how do we do it even better? it's actually building it as part of the how we develop products and how we run products.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to that, right? Let's segregate the two buckets. Compliance, for one, I think to Dom's point, it's adherence to compliance in the first place, right? So we've always taken that quite strictly. We obviously need to and constantly ensure that we're adhering to all the compliance requirements we need to, whether it's AML, sanctions controls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing that we clearly do.
So Nadeem, just on that, is it just external compliance, or are you guys creating certain internal compliance because your sector is so embryonic?
We have internal compliance. I guess. Well, you have to explain, like, what do you mean by compliance, right? For one, let's look at things like traditional companies that do trading policies. Like, we obviously have very strict trading policies. Like, so us, for example, we have a very clear and strict 90-day holding trading period. So that's one thing, for example, that CZ and the leadership team have instilled internally to ensure there are no opportunities of insider trading or any activity like that. That's an extremely strict policy. So those kind of compliance measures are very clearly in there. External compliance measures, obviously, just ensuring that we're helping monitor fraud, anti-money laundering, and avoiding all those. Risk, I think, is another interesting topic. So, clear things of risk, and I guess this will follow on with our questions. Is one, client segregation funds of operating in company money versus client money, extremely strict segregation, right? And the recent developments we've seen in the markets around proof of reserves, transparency around that has clearly led and shown that, right? To collateralization, right? Like, how do you actually post? How do you actually enable collateralization of clients? How are you ensuring that you're not using your own tokens for collateralization? These are things that we obviously have very strict elements around risk too, right? Transaction monitoring, that's another big thing as well. Ensuring where money is coming in, where money is going out, and having that, right? So working with top tier companies and best in breed to ensure all that is where we go. And then lastly, and just, because you had mentioned on people, but, just to really stress this point, to give you an idea, we 5X'd our entire compliance department last year. We have well over 400 or 500 people that are ex-law enforcement, ex-regulators, ex-police force, all ensuring that we keep an entirely robust system. That's led to where Binance is today, right? Going back to your original question, we wouldn't be the most regulated exchange in the world right now if we didn't have that infrastructure in place, right? Which is why we really build those systems and we really work with all the regulators in countries that we really want to operate in, because we need to build that trust, right? We need to bring it back. And so, just to, I guess, add on, right? That's how I see compliance and risk in those two spaces as well.
And I think also some of the work we've done actually with the regulators, trying to bring them to the party, right? There's been a huge amount of time spent, educating, working with different governments, etc., to actually bring them to have licenses to work with compliance, right?
No, that's interesting. I call me ignorant, but do you guys talk enough about all this publicly?
Very much. Pretty much every day. Go on Google at any point and you will find that we try to, as much as possible, socialize and publicize the work that we are trying to do, right? Working with policymakers is a key priority for us. We do that day in, day out. Whether that's addressing questions, whether that's helping to Dom's point, helping build frameworks, right, with certain central banks that want to invest in this space and foster innovation in the space. So we do it very publicly.
Nadeem's done a nice way of saying I am ignorant, so fine. Right, thanks. I'm going to say.
I mean, it's probably a relevant point, right? We're part of our Binance, which I love, is somewhat a little bit modesty, right? Maybe it's something we probably need to bring out even more to the market.
No, great. No, but it's impressive. I had no clue personally, and again, I'm not a barometer of the entire market, right? But it's impressive to know that actually there is that much, I guess, resources and horsepower being put in terms of people, process, governance, structure, because I guess that can only bode well for the industry, because I guess you are one of the biggest market makers now in the sense of market making, and obviously good for you. Let me bring the conversation into a regional context, right? And we'll take it to a higher level of abstraction. We'll use the word digital currencies. I like that term, right? Crypto being part of that, right? And CBDCs and stable coins and other forms there. What's your sort of personal opinion? And this question is open to both of you. I'll start with Nadeem and then Dom, you come in. what's your view with regards to sort of crypto or digital currency adoption in the region over the medium term? I think I'm not. 2023 is too small period for something this early. In the medium term, what do you see that? Don't just say it's positive, but give me a little bit more than that.
It's positive and growing. No. Look, I think you have to, again, like let's just circle back the time, right? Before this industry had regulation in place that fostered innovation and growth, the ADGM actually was, the Abu Dhabi Global Markets was one of the first, if not the first, regulator to actually put a framework in place. So I think that already shows you what MENA was doing really fast, like looking forward back in 2017, 2018, I think it was, right, when they first put this in place. You've then since seen that framework as a baseline and adoption around the world, right, being used as a way for other jurisdictions, not only in MENA, but also globally, to take that framework and either expand, alter it, obviously, to their specific needs and nuances in their country. But to me, that was the starting point, right? You think about MENA looked forward and said, this is an industry that I want to foster innovation for. And they ever since have done everything for it. So Abu Dhabi Global Markets obviously has their key frameworks. We've obviously seen recently, over the last year and a half, the creation of a new regulating authority here in Dubai, the VARA, right? VARA. Central Bank of Bahrain and Bahrain, for example, have also come out and they regulate directly as the central bank, the industry. And you're seeing that continuously go across the rest of the MENA region. Why have they really?
Do you have a view on Saudi?
I think Saudi have always looked at adopting innovation and tech as well, right? What I've always been very fascinated and humbled by is SAMA takes their time to really understand and get into the depths of it. And, having met and worked with and lived actually in Saudi for many years, I've always been impressed by their depth of knowledge. They're not going to jump the gun and just quickly do something for the sake of it. But when they do something, they do it well and they do it fast, right? So having seen some of the projects, for example, that Saudi Arabia has done in the past, they have actually already explored CBDCs, right? They've done a CBDC project with the UAE.
With UAE.
Exactly, right? So it's not that they're not doing anything. They're just taking their time to make sure they fully understand and how it applies to the Saudi market.
So cautiously optimistic.
Very cautiously optimistic, yeah.
Dom, what's your view on this?
Yeah, no, exactly right. That was Project Zappa, and that's surprisingly a number of years ago now. They have been... there's been a huge, I've been lucky enough to be in the region back in 2016, 2017, then go out and then be back here now. It's been huge, the uptake, right? The change in the industry, the amount of VC funds that are focused on companies that are in this space, that are based here, the mining, some of that's occurring, which is obviously the right bottom level of the technology, all the way through to all the regulators we've talked about, et cetera, right? I think importantly, really from the top down, they see this as an opportunity. If we go back to some of the big picture stuff around the UAE, the plan for 2030, et cetera, to have a real step up in the role that they play globally in the financial markets, and they see this particular market and this technology as an opportunity. And I think I'm just extremely excited and happy to be here and be part of it, and we really are just at the start of it.
So let me ask a question, right? It's about the competitive landscape of the exchanges in the region, right? And sort of help me a little bit out here, right? So I obviously, Dom, you and I were on a panel in Abu Dhabi Finance Week. I think we had Craig from Midchains, if I'm not wrong, and we had Arshad from Vinomex, right? We also have a number of exchanges which are out of Bahrain, if I may. I think they're out of Bahrain. No names to be taken. What's the are they different? Are they all the same? How do you see this competitive landscape evolve?
I think they're not the same. They're not the same. Obviously, they're looking to do a similar thing. And again, some will specialize in particular products and others, and some are regulated and some aren't fully regulated, right? And
explain that to me. What do you mean they're regulated and not fully regulated?
Well, can't be wrong, but BitOasis, for example, have they got full licenses?
They do have MVP.
They've got
in principle.
In principle, right? Whereas some of them, I think Midchains, for example, with an ADGM does have its full license. They're in different points in their path, is what I'm saying. I think they're all looking to get regulated, etc. I think again, it's as a prospective client, you go and look at the venue, look at the depth, look at the currencies or the assets that they're trading, and the pricing, right, and the service levels and the security they provide. Again, back to that point around regulatory. It's a start point, it's a good baseline. And so you therefore know that they're all at a certain baseline, but then you have to look at how each one differentiates above that.
Okay. All right. So that'll be an interesting one to watch, right? Because I think for someone like me, I was thoroughly confused initially in terms of, should I go with the global player who's coming to the market? Should I play with these local players? And to be honest with you, what I was looking at was a very simple factor, and maybe it was too simplistic, was actually the range of coins they were actually offering, right? At that time when everything, crypto was golden, right? So to us, it was all about, well, should we buy X? Should we buy Z? Let me take the story into what happened last year, right? And what people deem as the crypto winter, right? And I can see Nadeem's already wearing a cardigan.
It is a bit cold,
right? So we had the Terra Luna crash. I think we had 3AC close down somewhere around June. We had the Voyager Digital, Celsius bankruptcy, I think later in the summer. We then had the big sort of collapse, which to me was less to do with crypto, but more to do with just a genuine sort of poor governance with FTX. And then we had BlockFi. Bitcoin, is somewhere in the region of, 17,000 right now after hitting a top of nearly 60. Overall market cap for crypto was 3 trillion at one time. We're in the mid 800 billions, right? So for a simple person like me, it paints a fairly sort of bleak picture, right? And you could say, yes, it's early days, and these are sort of, if I may say, teething problems. Maybe not, but if you were to use that argument, what is wrong here? Why is there so much, bad news?
Yeah, I'd go first. I mean, look, I think every market is going to go through its ebbs and flows, right? So I think volatility aside, where pricing is and where things, that's just a natural progression of any market, right? Stock market is also down 70, 80% if you invested in tech stock, right? So I think that comparison is just natural market. What I think this really shines a light on when you say what's wrong with it is that, it is, you said not to say, but it's true. It is an early market. It's an extremely nascent space.
No, I'm not saying don't say it. I'm just saying, because is there more to it than just that?
Well, there's twofold, right? In a nascent space or a nascent technology, this, right? There are going to be issues that come out at first, whether it's poor governance, poor mismanagement, poor tech, right? We're all learning about how to use this tech in the most appropriate way as well. So I think that in its part is one thing. The poor governance, I think, is also to some extent poor oversight by regulation, right? The lack of regulation is both a good and a bad, I guess, to some extent. Good because it's, people are able to do what they want. Bad because people can do whatever they want, right? So it's a double-edged sword. So I think the biggest highlight that it's prone is that this needs expedition of regulation so that people's funds are safe, companies are forced to adhere to the right regulations and avoid issues that we had seen, right? Whether it's poor mismanagement of funds, or in cases like some of the exchanges you mentioned, just pure fraud, right? Like it's ridiculous that those things can happen. So to me, that's the biggest issue. It's that we need to move more into that space. And, that's why, again, like, let's just take the focus back to someone like Binance. That's why we try to get regulated everywhere we can. That is why we are the most compliant exchange everywhere we can. We have something like 14, 15 different registrations and continuously going around the world, right? We do that because we want to give the users the comfort and security as much as we can that you can come to our exchange and use our services.
Let me hold you on that, right? So I'm going to put you on the spot on this one, right?
Yeah.
So December wasn't a great year for great month for Binance either, right? I don't have the accurate figures. People can read. I think it was somewhere in the region of 10 billion, which was taken out of your platform. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why did it happen to you guys?
I think you have to remember what you're actually asking there, right? So what happened, over the course of December was a general industry exodus. Like everyone was worried, so they're all shoring up their capital, right?
Right.
And that's what happened, obviously, in the FTX scenario.
And since you're 70% of the market, you guys get hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So money. Well, it's not that we got hit, but to your point,
It
there was a net withdrawal of 6 billion, but net
Was it six?
So 6 billion net withdrawals.
Net
However,
yes, I know.
there was obviously money coming in, money coming out.
going out.
I think the key point there is that we were there through thick and thin and managed to address and also be supportive of every single withdrawal that came in, right? I think that's actually the important thing to focus on. So I actually think it was a great month for Binance because we actually literally had the stress test of a lifetime to prove people want to take their money out, no problem, because we have your funds. Like we're not hiding anything. We're fully transparent about it, right? So when you say
But
bad month,
are
not a good month,
exchanges transparent?
look, I think that's what and
this
Tom,
is
feel
not
free
a
to jump
Binance
in.
question.
No, it's
Dom,
a great
Well,
question, right? But
yeah, I mean, I'll go back to that first question as well, right? It is still an early market. As human beings, we like to do comparisons with other times, right? So, .com, right? Went through that phase. Lots of people, lots of companies came in. Most of them didn't succeed. Most of them went by the wayside, right? Regulation, back to that point. Extremely important. I'm very happy to say we're regulated by the ADGM and we are doing that globally. We've got, last count was 19. It's probably more by the time that this goes out, right? Licenses that we have. It's an extremely important thing, but let's be clear. I've just watched the Madoff item on Netflix, right? Things go bad in regulated environments
totally.
as well, right?
And I think FTX is more made off than it is anything else.
But it's just an example that as a participant in this market, regulation is extremely important, but it's not the only thing. So it's about education. It's about understanding of the market. Even if they're regulated or not, making sure you've done your due diligence. If you're coming in and it's your money that you're putting into this, your value, your earnings, make sure you've done the DD on who you're participating with. And I'll completely agree with Nadeem on actually I think we all see December as positively a great success. We've actually shown that there is money moved off the exchange and we met every single one of them.
So again,
so going to your question, our exchange is transparent enough, right? I think this is what's now kickstarted this proof of reserves, right?
Yes.
This requirements for being able to list and show through new systems like Merkle trees and whatnot about, do you actually have the funds to cover liabilities or client assets, for example. We've been posting ours as much as we can, and we're continuously building on that, right? So I think this is pushing and has opened a lime spine on, we do need to have more transparency in the industry, right? So where I think you may interestingly see the struggle happen now is having exchanges or platforms not able to provide that. If anything, that just shines a light on where there is poor management and things need to be fixed, right? So this is great. I think December was the month to help push things in the complete right direction.
okay.
And back to your transparency point, it's funny really, because if you look at what blockchain was about, it was about transparency.
It's about transparency.
Right?
That's
It
what
was
I
about,
read.
the whole point is, instead of all these financial institutions having hidden databases, the whole history is really in front of you. And in fact, actually, through that, being able to, in a way, remove the need for trust, between parties, because it is all visible. Are we transparent enough? I'll go back to that point I made earlier. We're always trying to do better, be it alongside regulation or just getting ahead of the game. Are we going to get it right? Does everyone get it right all the time? No, but the whole point is we're continually trying to improve that transparency. Binance itself is a privately held company, right, at this point. And it has certain items that, of course, as a privately held company, it will keep to itself. We're a competitive beast, and we're trying to compete with others out there. But as much as possible regarding absolutely the fact that users' assets are users' assets, that's something we
That's 70% market share. You're only competing with yourself, my friend.
No, that would be complacency, because there's still 30% out there that is going after us every single day.
Yeah, so interestingly, like not to go into a challenging discussion, but proof of reserves actually came out because of what the technology is able to do.
Yeah.
Try to do that with a traditional bank. Can you really show proof of reserves? Do you actually know that your money's sitting in the bank behind it?
No. We were talking about this today. They've got a guarantee of a certain weighted amount of capital they have to hold, and how often are they tested? Right?
So there's a call to action to all the banks out here, right?
Or look at the technology and what it is possible to deliver. And we're thankful that this, through a problem came a great solution, right? And now we're moving in that direction.
So I'm going to still keep you in the world of scams, right? So 2021, I think we had scams which accounted to about $3.2 billion, right? So I'm sorry, this is all third-party data. If I'm wrong, apologies. It's not my data. That grew to about 3.7 billion in 2022, and I don't think this accounts for what will come out of FTX, right? Is 2023 going to be worse?
How are you, I suppose, I know those numbers, but again, what are those made out of? You've got, I think, a whole mix of many different types of activities.
So there's hacks.
So there was actual hacks, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you going to stop people trying to hack? Absolutely not. There's always going to be a criminal element. And we work incredibly hard night and day to ensure our security, both technical and physical, and all the processes are as protected as possible. Scams, that's a different somewhat area, as in people tricking things. We've all seen these scam tokens. There's been documentaries in the past about people who've made these sort of Ponzi coins or whatever. And then again, we have completely separate teams. I think we only list 1% of the total amount of tokens out there. Probably not even that, right?
Yeah, so just
we
how
try
many
and
tokens are out
and
there?
protect that.
Roughly.
I wouldn't even lost count. Tens of thousands, if not.
Yeah.
Like we're probably gone through that level at this stage.
So what's the process? I'm not asking you to reveal secrets out here, but so what's the process which you guys take to listing something on Binance?
Well, there's multiple layers to it, right? So obviously at a .com level, there's a particular team that will go through every single coin that's coming on, and then looking at the security of the coin, the actual utility of the coin, the tokenomics of the coin, what is it being used for, and then as we come down that within the business lines within the company, we'll only use. So obviously, I'll use Binance Abu Dhabi as an example. We can only look after the coins that have been approved by regulators. So that's a minute subset of what .com has. So there's multiple sort of tiers of protocol that we go through to get to what we can offer to the client. Right. And also we constantly review to see what we're going to actually delist as well.
Right. And you do that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to use the word naive for the fifth time, right? So this is yet another naive question, but bear with me, right? So you guys in Binance are known to have invested in a number of projects, right? And if I'm not wrong, you sort of rarely sell out of these projects, right? Number of coins are down more than 90% of their all-time high or where they were a year ago, right? How does that impact your financial condition, or does it not?
Very simply, it doesn't. I mean, again, we're an exchange, right? So the predominant financial health of our company comes from the exchange business, right? And we're very fortunate to be so large that we've created a comfortable corporate position as a business, right? The investments that we make and the fostering of new companies and businesses has never been a main focus for the business, right? We're not there to be an active VC or PE. We do have a labs team. We do have an investment arm that looks at fostering further growth and innovation, but it's actually that, right? It's not about taking a position and looking for a 10x multiple. It's actually about just helping grow this industry, right? That's always been the precursor to where the team looks at investments in the first place. So, short answer, it has zero impact, right, on tokens going up or down. We rarely sell. You're very right in that. And, you look at some of the projects that have done really well, right? Things like Sandbox, right? Like that's like one interesting Polygon, right? That's like an entire new ecosystem that was birthed out of investments with BNB. Some projects haven't done so well, right? But I think to us, that's never been the main focus. And so I don't see us taking an active position in those.
I think CZ had made a call to action to a number of people to say, let's shore up together, come together, invest together in some of the
recovery fund. Fantastic.
Recovery fund.
That's a very different thing, right? That was the whole recovery fund. But back to that investment process now, I'm not in that area for Binance, but as far as I understood it, it was exactly as Nadeem said, right? It was never about, a 10x return in 5 years like a PE firm. This was about looking at taking some of that great success Binance had and growing the ecosystem. So if you're not exiting that coin, you're not planning to return on that coin. Well, the fact that it's gone on up and down against another coin is kind of frankly irrelevant. You're looking at it purely from a more like, I have X amount of this utility token on this project that might come good in 10 years, right?
Okay, so I'm just going to go off for a second and come back. And is the community, the crypto community, the community involved in making the market, not the community which is buying into the market, are you guys like a friendly bunch of people, or like it's all doggy dog?
I would say it's. I mean, interest. Let's say I've been in crypto since like 2016, now 2015.
So he was 12.
Thank you. I'm not that young, but when I think about when I first entered the industry, I've always been met with extreme openness, collaboration, education, because there's such a small group of people in comparison to the larger population of the world that are in this space, that it's about the excitement of, you like the same thing that I do, let's talk about it. So I haven't personally come across that, vicious, like, no, it's mine, it's yours, I don't want to talk to you territorial attitude. It's very much a community driven project. And interestingly, the more you see CZ, the Binance CEO, publicize, like, he is very much an open person, right? He is very community driven. He's not, sure, he's the CEO of Binance, but he's actually very an industry thought leader, right? So I think that's one of the things that attracted me, at least, to working in the crypto, but also in Binance. But I don't know if your experience is
exactly. I'm the same, and I'm also not 12. Since I've been involved on the outside and then sort of been in as well, has been incredibly small community. I mean, there was initially, there feels like there's a blockchain conference every day now, but there really was sort of consensus in New York when we sort of first were getting into it, which was probably no more than a few hundred people, and we were very much all in there. It's, of course, as the value's grown, there have been not always brilliant people, but the vast majority have been around. This technology can change so many things, so many different processes. We've focused on the financial side so far, but there's many different use cases for it. And we want to grow that because we actually want to change some stuff and do some good things with it, right? And that's been the underlying sort of mentality I've met, and everyone I've worked with so far has been in that same kind of boat.